Bethesda Game Studios' games have a knack for continuing to live on for a long time after release, with many people clocking in hundreds upon hundreds of hours into these massive single-player RPGs over the course of multiple years. And sure, a lot of that is thanks to their vibrant modding communities and the post-launch support they receive, but a lot of it is also down to the fact that, even at launch, BGS games are mind-bogglingly massive open-world experiences with dozens upon dozens upon dozens of hours of content, and plenty more still if you decide to dive into their ridiculously dense and addictive sandbox elements. STARFIELD is no different in that regard, which means that even though its main questline is actually well worth experiencing, not only because of the things it lets you unlock, but also because the story itself is a captivating one, there's a good chance that you'll be having so much fun doing other things in the game that you may always find yourself nowhere close to finishing the main quest. Here, we're going to talk about a few such things that'll keep you happily distracted. Elaborate faction questlines.
You kidding me?
Faction questlines are usually the heart and soul of any BGS game, and STARFIELD is no different in that regard. There are 4 main faction questlines that'll form the backbone of your experience outside of the main quest: the United Colonies Vanguard, the Crimson Fleet, the Freestar Rangers, and Ryujin Industries, and all 4 of them are, in a word, excellent. From trying to prevent a galaxy-wide xeno-warfare threat to becoming a space pirate double agent, from fighting against criminals as a space sheriff to diving into the seedy world of corporate espionage, there's a great deal of thematic and narrative variety to be found in STARFIELD's faction questlines, and each of them boasts great stories, characters, and choices.
Think that's far enough. Hate to put a hole in the head of Akila's own prodigal son.
A multitude of one-off side quests. Of course, there's no shortage of smaller, more contained side quests in STARFIELD either. As you explore the settled systems, you'll organically pick up pointers in the form of activities by hearing NPC chatter, having random encounters in space, reading logs, or more, and many of these pointers will lead you to one-off side quests. There's a multitude of these to be found throughout the game, especially in the 4 main cities, and though they're obviously not as high stakes as the main story or the faction quests, the vast majority of them are well worth experiencing for a variety of reasons, whether that's an interesting self-contained story, valuable rewards at the end of a mission, or more.
5 successful standard assignments, and 1 specialized.
Oh, a few incidents here and there, but nothing we can't handle, right? I happen to have a personal assignment that I'd like to send you on.
Dense cities to explore. A massive portion of the STARFIELD open world pie chart is eaten up by space and the hundreds of uncharted planets scattered throughout the settled systems. More on this in a bit, but there are of course also plenty of handcrafted locations to be found in the game. Of these, 4 are dense and sizable cities, and exploring every nook and cranny remains a joyous experience in each of them. New Atlantis, Neon, Aquila City, and Cydonia are all excellently crafted locations that have interesting cultures and histories, learning more about which never gets boring. All of these hubs are, of course, also densely packed with interesting things to see and do, so you could conceivably spend hours upon hours in a single city without ever feeling the need to hop aboard your ship. Hundreds of uncharted planets.
Your current course while we scan your ship. Alright, you're good. Welcome to Aquila City.
Of course, once you do hop aboard your ship and fly off, the aforementioned glut of uncharted planets is completely open to you and begging to be explored. Yes, you can pretty much completely ignore that part of the game and stick to the authored content if you want, but once you do dabble in STARFIELD's procedurally generated offerings, there's a good chance that you'll be hooked. There's something magical about landing on a completely uninhabited planet that no one has ever set foot on before. And if you're lucky enough to cross paths with some weird alien flora or fauna, or to catch a gorgeous view of the sunrise, it makes the trip all the more worthwhile. Planet surveys. Of course, there are other things to do on uninhabited planets than taking in the scenery. That flora and fauna you run into, any materials you find, randomly generated landmarks that can be scattered throughout the landscape, finding and scanning all of that stuff helps you build up your survey of the planet, which once completed also nets neat cash rewards. No, it's not the most exciting activity in the world, but for completionists in particular, there's plenty of fun to be had here. Outpost building. The one side activity tied largely to uncharted planets that you're likely to get the most hours of gameplay out of is outpost building, if you get hooked on that side of the experience at least. Building on the foundations of Fallout 4 and 76, Outpost building in Starfield has a familiar core, but features a much more flexible and expanded toolset. The loop of mining minerals and resources, and then using those to build increasingly more elaborate and impressive outposts, which in turn will help you get even more resources. Getting into that loop can be very addictive indeed. Shipbuilding. While outpost building may not be everyone's cup of tea, shipbuilding is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of Starfield's biggest highlights and among its most addictive and enjoyable systems. Seriously, Bethesda could have released an entire cheaper, smaller game that was just the shipbuilding mechanics in Starfield. The level of flexibility the toolset boasts and the degree of control it affords you in letting you make whatever kind of ship you want to make, and the way the game rewards you for putting in time by not only tangibly impacting your ship's performance, but letting you walk around inside of it and see all the changes you've made in action with your own eyes. All of that, among other things, makes shipbuilding an incredibly rewarding experience. Space piracy. Once you have the ship of your dreams, or even before that actually, there's plenty that you can do with it. And yes, of course, space piracy is right up there. And it's as fun as it sounds. Encountering random civilian and military ships and demanding they hand over all of their cargo, smuggling contraband and feeling the thrill of making past the authority scanners, flying around systems and racking up a bounty as you spread chaos everywhere. All of it is incredibly fun and something that you can easily spend hours pouring into. Fine-tuning your build. This being a BGS game, it should come as no surprise that Starfield also boasts impressive depth in its role-playing systems and mechanics. And for those who like to fine-tune their builds down to the minutest detail, there's plenty of room to do that here. There are, for starters, some really valuable and useful weapons and gear that you can always be on the lookout for, but more importantly, you can also easily lose yourself in Starfield's skill trees. There's a total of 82 unlockable skills across 5 trees, spread across things like physical attributes, social skills, technical skills, combat skills, and what have you. And each of those 82 skills can be upgraded 4 times. So there's plenty of room for build variety for those who are looking for it. Learning all the lore. Bethesda Game Studios has always had a knack for cramming its worlds full of rich and captivating lore, like the post-nuclear wastelands of Fallout. The vast expanses of Starfield are no different. Different factions, their conflicts with each other, the backstories of individual places, the different cultures you'll encounter as you travel throughout the galaxy. The settled systems are overflowing with all of that and more, and learning more about it all just never gets dull. And with that, we reach the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on Gaming Bolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.